Liberty. Okay, so it's a word we hear all the time, right? It's literally written into constitutions. It's something people have fought and died for in revolutions. But here's the thing. While we all think we know what it means, the idea of liberty is way more complex and honestly more debated than you might think. So let's break it down. And that really is the big question we're going to tackle in this explainer. What does it actually mean to be free? Is it just about being left alone? Or is it about having the power, the real ability to chase your dreams? Well, the answer, as you're about to see, is not so simple. To really get a grip on liberty, the first thing we have to do is accept that it's not one single simple idea. It's this huge concept with a ton of different faces, and it plays out in pretty much every part of our lives. I mean, think about it. We talk about civil liberty. That's what protects our individual rights from the government. Then there is political liberty, which is our right to actually have a say in how we're governed. You've got social liberty, which is about being free from the pressures of society. And of course, economic liberty, the freedom to work, to trade, to prosper. Every single one of these is its own massive field of debate. Okay, but here's the thing. Underneath all those different flavors of freedom, the entire modern debate really comes down to this fundamental clash between two very, very different ways of looking at the whole thing. And get this, the key, the absolute Rosetta Stone for understanding this whole debate, the framework that philosophers and political thinkers are still using today, comes from one single, brilliant essay published way back in 1958. So that essay was called Two Concepts of Liberty, and it was written by the philosopher Isaiah Berlin. And what he did in this essay totally changed the game. He laid out this distinction that has shaped our entire modern understanding of freedom. He basically argued that for centuries, humanity has been fighting for two completely different things, both of which we call liberty. What Berlin did was genius, really. He split the whole idea of freedom right down the middle into two camps. On one side, you've got negative liberty. Think of this as freedom from. It's freedom from government interference, freedom from other people telling you what to do. It's all about drawing a circle around yourself and saying, hey, leave me alone in here. But then on the other side, you have positive liberty. And this is freedom to. It's the freedom to become your best self, the freedom to actually reach your potential. This isn't just about being left alone, it's about being actively empowered. All right, so let's dive into that first camp, shall we? The champions of negative liberty. These are the thinkers who argue that the most important freedom, the one that matters above all else, is simply being left alone. You've got a giant of philosophy, John Stuart Mill. For him, in his amazing book on liberty, the whole point of civil liberty was to protect us, the individuals, from the power of the state. To Mill, freedom was basically a shield to defend ourselves against tyranny. Fast forward about 100 years and you get the economist F.A. Hayek, who kind of doubles down on this. He defined liberty super simply. It is the absence of coercion. For Hayek, you are free if no one else can arbitrarily force you to do something you don't want to do. And he believed that protection comes from living under the stable rule of law, not the unpredictable whims of a ruler. And then there's Milton Friedman, who takes this whole idea and applies it to your wallet. In his hugely influential book, Capitalism and Freedom, he made the case that you just can't have political freedom if you don't have economic freedom. He argued that the ability to make your own economic choices is the bedrock on which all our other freedoms are built. Okay, hold on. That's just one side of the coin. Now we've got to flip it over and look at the other camp. The argument for positive liberty, this idea of freedom to. The whole mindset here is totally different. For the folks in this camp, freedom isn't just about the absence of barriers. It's about having the actual power to follow what they call your real will, your higher, more rational self. It's about a whole society having the collective power to shape its own destiny. And this is the big one. It's about creative freedom, the real-world ability to do things, to create things, to achieve your goals. And this is where the advocates for positive liberty land a really powerful punch. They ask a question like this: what good is freedom from starvation if you're illiterate and can't read a job application? Is that person truly free in any way that matters? The argument here is that just being left alone is not enough. You need the tools to actually use your freedom. Okay, so this whole negative versus positive thing is kind of the main event, but the story doesn't end there. The conversation didn't just stop in 1958. All through the 20th century, other incredible thinkers came along and added new layers and wrinkles to this idea of freedom.
I mean, the conversation kept going and got even richer. You had Erich Fromm looking at the psychology of it all, even asking why people sometimes seem to run away from freedom. Then you get Joseph Raz, who argued that real freedom isn't just having options, it's about having valuable options. That idea took on incredible power with Nelson Mandela, who tied his own personal freedom directly to the liberation of his entire nation. And then more recently, the economist Amartya Sen completely reframed the idea of economic development, saying it's not about money, it's about expanding people's real-world freedom to live the lives they actually want to live.
So, after all that, where do we land? Well, we're left with these two huge, powerful, and often competing ideas about what it really, truly means to be free. And when you actually stack them up against each other, the difference it's crystal clear. Negative liberty is freedom from. Its focus is on the absence of obstacles. The key question it asks is, am I being controlled? And its biggest fear is the tyranny of the state. On the other hand, positive liberty is freedom too. Its focus is on the presence of opportunity. The question it asks is, can I actually achieve my goals? But it comes with its own risk, the potential for a tyranny of the majority, deciding for everyone else what a good life is supposed to look like.
And that leads us right back to you, doesn't it? It leaves us with the big question that this entire debate is really all about. In your own life, and for our society as a whole, which one matters more? Is it the freedom to be left alone, to chart your own course for better or worse? Or is it the freedom that comes from having the tools, the education, the health, the resources, to truly become the person you want to be? That's the debate, and it's one that continues to this day.